that came in between that request and the time where they ever even responded, further delaying and probably diminishing some of the information that they could have come. They said that that was a delay and that they clearly are slapping the Secret Service hands in that. And Joe, you mentioned, of course, the Secret Service role in that very salacious conflict that we heard about from Cassidy Hutchinson. But there's also another piece of the Secret Service was critical in on January 6th, and that was their responsibility to protect the vice president. And we know that it was Pence himself who defied Secret Service agents and said, I'm not getting in the car. Now, if he had actually complied with the Secret Service, he would have been taken away from the Capitol and wouldn't have been in the position to certify those election results. In other words, actually giving victory to the insurrectionist. So that is another reason why DHS IG would have wanted these text messages to figure out why Secret Service acted in that way, what kind of threats they perceived that day, and how that led to that decision where they thought they needed to get the vice president away from the Capitol. All of this is critical just in the very day-to-day rigor of the DHS IG being able to oversee this agency, an agency that's had a lot of problems, especially since it was absorbed by the Department of Homeland Security, but also it's critical in understanding the events of January 6th. And we have to point out they also wanted the record from the day before, which begs a lot of questions about what did the Secret Service know, what was it planning for and expecting before this insurrection even took place, Joe?
It's just absolutely remarkable. What can you tell us about, because we've heard a little bit about it, after Cassidy Hutchinson's testimony, there was some talk about how Donald Trump had politicized the Secret Service. What can you tell us about that side of the story?
Well, it's definitely one that we know that has been drilled down on. It's something that as soon as investigators at this House Select Committee found out from Cassidy Hutchinson about that back and forth, that everyone's tried to get more of a direct account, because as you remember, Cassidy Hutchinson was really relaying what she had heard. But we know there were police scanners, there were people there. But of course, Donald Trump had a policy of trying to put his own people in the place of security. We know that the Secret Service director just announced his retirement after 25 years, someone who had served through many administrations would see himself as apolitical. But there were a number of people working for the Secret Service who were security details appointed by Donald Trump himself. That is key in determining exactly what happened that day and who might be complying or not complying when the Select Committee or now the Inspector General is trying to get answers in terms of Donald Trump's actions that day. And then also the law enforcement response, which is such a key part, whether you're talking about Capitol Police, other parts of DHS. We reported here at NBC that CBP, Customs and Border Protection, were actually uniformed and armed, ready to go, but were kept waiting in the basement of the Reagan building during the insurrection that was happening just blocks away. A lot of questions about law enforcement response, Secret Service being pivotal, and the fact that they were responsible for the president's security that day, would have known his every detail, every movement and request, and also, of course, protecting the vice president as a mob was chanting that they wanted to hang him, Joe. I can't even believe I'm saying that.
Yeah. I mean,
that is
Julia
impossible.
Ainsley, it's extraordinary that the Secret Service, an organization that largely had remained outside of politics for so long, has been pulled into this. But Carol Leonnig wrote an entire book about sort of the politicization in some ways of the Secret Service. So how much did Donald Trump have to do with that? Because it does play into what we're talking about here, that he did bring some loyalists in, that he had people close to him who were perhaps more loyal to him than they were to the organization.
Yeah, you know, that's part of the reporting I want to flesh out just over the course of this day, is to understand the timeline, to see, we understand that, you know, as soon as the DHS IG requested those text messages, many of them were deleted. But how much of that was the Secret Service of the Trump administration and how much of that was actually noncompliance under this administration as well? It's unclear exactly when that would have happened, but very clear that, yes, the Secret Service did get politicized under Donald Trump. It's under new new leadership now. We've, of course, still had some problems, some scandals under this administration as well. It's a very large organization. And when people look back at the history of the Secret Service, they have to remember it actually started under the Treasury, because one of the Secret Service's jobs is to protect against counterfeiting money. A lot of people forget about that. But when DHS was born after 9/11, they brought Secret Service into the fold. And many people would argue that since that happened, it hasn't been as well policed, as well regulated, and has been able to really grow into an agency that can have a lot of problems within its ranks and could be very easily politicized by the man in charge. But we should point out, of course, that it was security who did eventually deny the president's request to turn the car to the Capitol that day.